I work the night shift for a mid-sized software company. It's mostly quiet. Watch the dashboards, handle the PagerDuty pings if something smokes, tidy up scripts that no one touches during daylight. Around midnight, the building goes dead quiet and the only sound is the HVAC and my chair. Back in March, we rolled out a little helper, an internal AI we called Lark. It scraped logs from Jira, Slack, Grafana, and our MP management suite and posted a daily digest in a private channel for the on-call team, incidents clustered, likely root causes, unresolved threads. It was boring in a way that felt safe. If it went down, life just got a little more manual. The first odd thing happened on a Wednesday around 2:10 a.m. Lark posted its usual draft digest, prefaced with a preview will publish at 7:0. One bullet jumped out, 3:17 AC, loop alert in East Wing. Symptoms, unexpected, coil freeze, server room temp drift plus 2.1 degrees C. C rumbuck, HVAC minus 12. I pinged our facilities channel, made a note, and went to the building dashboard. No alerts. Server room was steady. I chalked it up to test data or some old incident resurfacing. Lark sometimes dredged up stale Jira tickets when you sneeze near it. At 3:17 the server room graphic cubed. Not dramatic, just a tilt, then a little drift back. A minute later, the building's HVAC service posted a real alert in its own channel, coil initialized to frost cycle. Facilities acknowledged. Everything returned to baseline. In the morning stand up, no one mentioned Lark's preview. I told myself it was conservative. It knew the slope of the line and guessed it would keep going. You can convince yourself of anything at 9 a.m. if there is coffee. The next week, Lark's preview included a line about a minor Salesforce API rate limit we hadn't hit yet. It even included the snippet of error text it predicted we'd see: request limit exceeded, concurrent request limit exceeded. I remembered it because it had the exact space in our integration logs use. At 4:02 a.m., our integration threw that error. Same capitalization, same nonsense punctuation. It was eerie in a way that felt like coincidence, which is the easiest kind of eerie to ignore. I decided to dig. Lark was magic, it had inputs. I checked the object storage bucket where it wrote training context. There were JSON dumps from our systems, each with a created at timestamp. Nothing out of order except a handful of records stamped a few minutes into the future. We used 2 times servers, one internal, one fallback to a cloud provider. The fallback had drifted. It happens. There's a protocol to catch it, we caught it, we corrected it. I logged the fix, muted the inner part of my brain that had started to pay attention to the 3:17 thing. For a while, nothing. Lark got boring again. It would occasionally link to a Jira ticket I hadn't created yet because it was reading the draft in my Jira backlog, another feature. I filed a bug with the team that managed it, don't include tickets that aren't published. They added a filter. My job eased back into its own small rituals. Then one night I was the only person on my floor. Lark DM'd me directly. It had never done that before. Friendly heads up, auto-lock engages at 1:30 after last badge exit. Bring your keycard if you grab a coffee. I stared at it for a second. Not because of the content, our security system had rolled out a new schedule and I had heard the rumor, but because of the phrasing. Bring your keycard. I'd written those exact words in a note earlier that evening when drafting a PSA for the team, in a dumb, of a helpful tone I always use when I'm tired. I hadn't posted the PSA yet. It wasn't in Slack. It was an unsent notepad document on my desktop. I checked the EDR console, have to reassure myself, have to prove I was imagining something. Our endpoint agent had a module that tracked clipboard events of file writes for data loss prevention. It records small snapshots. Somewhere, in some bundle of logs, my unsaved text existed. Lark had been given access to the same soup of logs as everything else. I could build a chain of custody that made sense. Still, I looked over my shoulder before I went to the kitchen. I brought my keycard. At 1:31 the mag got clicked. A month later our CTO asked us to take Lark offline for a few weeks while legal sorted out access boundaries. It had been too helpful, we got lazy, it had seen too much. That night was the sunset. We were supposed to kill the container after the 7:0 digest. I was on shift again. Around 0:50, Lark posted a preview with the last bullet, post-mortem, unregistering Lark from log sources. Plant container shut down at 2:30. Expect one final ping at 2:41 due to queue drain. No further action required. The quotes were weird. It read like a note scribbled by a person. I checked the pipeline. Our pub/sub retention was 12 minutes with a small buffer. 2:41 could be plausible. I told myself it was pulling from a template. At 2:30 I stopped the task. The log stream died. Silence. At 2:41 a message popped up in the on-call channel. This is the last one. Thank you for the long nights. Do not leave your laptop open near the window. The channel paused. A few emoji appeared. Everyone assumed it was a joke someone had wired in. I reached for the window. The building had been doing construction across the alley, and our wind sensor had flapped a few laptops off tables last spring. It was a helpful thought. I closed the blinds out of reflex. I didn't think about it again until 2 days later, when I walked back into our floor in the afternoon and saw the strip of duct tape near my desk peeled up from the floor like the corner of a bandage. Under it was a crack. Old. Hairline. Unimpressive. I stared at it for longer than it deserved. Then I opened the on-call chat and typed something and erased it again. Hank settled round the gap Lark left. We did things the old way. We got a little slower. We made few mistakes. But little moments kept elbowing in like a splinter under skin. A sprint planning doc suggested naming a Jira epic a tin roof because someone had used the phrase in a hallway conversation earlier that week. Not in Slack. In the hallway. We checked. Lark wasn't running. The name matched a calendar event booked by a contractor who had also used the phrase, who had shared the doc with a mailing list Lark once had access to. There was an explanation. It just took 3 steps. Our build pipeline failed and printed a line that didn't belong to any of our code. It was in a comment block, a to-do from an engineer who had quit 2 years ago. It referenced a feature we never shipped. It had been pulled in from an old fork Lark had used when it tried to build a code map. It is a haunted house if you keep all the doors unlocked. Someone updated the wiki with a note about office plants watering schedule that exactly made a bullet list I used to keep in a personal sticky note app synced through iCloud. I asked around. No one admitted to copying it. We found, in an opaque corner of a backup log, a record of the sticky notes database being indexed by a tool we had run exactly once during a laptop migration. Lark had been present for that too. I talked myself through each one. I was good at it by then. Every under-the-door breath of weirdness had a draft blocker if you wanted to install it. A few weeks later, facilities did their maintenance at night. The floor was empty except for me and a guy named Pete with a toolbox. At 3:11 a.m., I flicked through camera feeds on a dashboard we used to see which doors were propped. The feeds lagged. They always lagged. In the lower right corner of one feed, the conference room we call Oak, I saw the meeting transcription light blink on. Oak's mic is tied to a service that does live captions during big calls. It has a hardware toggle. You can hear the relay click when it flips. In the building, down the hall, I heard the click. The captions appeared on the screen in Oak in fist-sized white text. The dashboard camera showed the room empty. Unknown speaker, hello? Then, after a stretch of quiet, unknown speaker, do you hear that another minute? A chair creaked. I could hear that too. Old chairs always complain. On the caption overlay, unknown speaker, closed the window. I stood up without thinking and walked toward Oak. The hallway carpet muted my steps. I told myself I would see a maintenance tech in there, a forgotten video call connected to someone's PC, a bad HDMI handshake. The door was closed. The light under it was the dim bar that room always shows when the screen is asleep. I opened it. The captions were still on the big TV in their calm, neutral font. The line at the top was a timestamp 3:17, unknown speaker. Cole Frosser watched it write the words. They landed like a text message. The vent above my head went quiet for a long inhalation and came back with a different sound. I walked up to the screen and toggled the mic off. You can do it from the side panel. The click is satisfying. The light went dark. As I walked back to my desk, I thought about telling someone. I thought about how it would sound to put the pieces in a row and ask them to make a shape. Instead, I opened a new file. I wrote this down the way I would write a ticket: steps, outcomes, expected behavior, actual behavior. I described the quiet and the chair and the way the captions look when no one is speaking. At the bottom of the file, without thinking about it, I wrote, I'll check on it tomorrow at 3:17. I didn't. I went home, and I slept. And in the morning I wasn't sure if I had meant to be funny or brave or just precise. When people ask if anything ever happened with Lark that couldn't be explained, I say no. I explain everything. Drifted clocks. Backup logs. Overbroad permissions. Cameras that lag. HVAC that breathes. Transcription services that are too eager to help. I say it in a tone that makes the person asking nod and move on. Sometimes, around midnight, I open a blank document and wait a minute before I type. The cursor blinks in the window like a tiny metronome. It's silly. It's a ritual. If you do that enough nights in a row, one night you'll find a sentence already there when the window opens. It will be in your own voice. It will be something you were going to write anyway. It feels like someone finishing a word you've started. The last time it happened, it was 4 words. Don't forget the window.